Mystery Monday number 15, where our learning goal is to cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support an analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, including where the text leaves matters uncertain. At the end of today's lesson, you'll be asked to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 4. That is sort of where you would rate your ability to accomplish that learning goal. If you rate yourself a 4, that means that you can draw inferences from the text, point to the evidence the author uses to prove his or her point, and where the text leaves matters uncertain. You're also picking up on nuance, like sarcasm and irony. If you put yourself at a 3, that means that you can draw inferences from the text and point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point, and where the text leaves matters uncertain. Notice how you're missing maybe some of the nuance, like sarcasm and irony. The 3 is kind of where we want everyone to be by the end of the year. If you rate yourself a 2, that means you can draw emphasis from the text and you can point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point. And if you put yourself at a 1, that means you were unsure of how to draw inferences. Maybe you're unsure of what an inference is. Both of those, 1 and 2, are totally fine. Please be honest with me about that. This is at least as much an assessment of me as it is of you, because it tells me what I can do differently to help you clarify some of those things. So I'll, as you know, as I maybe start to see some of you placing yourself at 2s, I will change and adjust how I do the lessons to help clarify some of those things for you. Anyway, let's get on with the story. As I said, it is Mystery Monday number 15, a cash transfer at the Good Eats Diner. Right now, at the right in Edpuzzle is the hard copy of the story, so you can open that up in a new tab and read it yourself, or you might read from the audiobook or have listened to the audiobook, have me read the audiobook to you. I want to leave both options available to you. Maybe the sound of my voice is just too much to bear and you'd rather read it in silence. That's totally fine too. Or maybe you want to read it. Have me read it with you. That's totally fine. But go ahead and do that now. Your vocab words for Mystery Monday number 15 include jetsam, cups, glumly, ramshackle. So here's what we know. These are things explicitly said in the story. Mr. Hicks bragged about being able to identify cops. Mr. Hicks had dirty hands. And Mr. Hicks claims to have seen the whole thing through a window in his kitchen. Question number 1 for the story is a 3-part question. What is likely the temperature outside, and how do you know? Please directly quote the text. What evidence in the text tells you that it is the temperature that you are suggesting? What is likely the temperature in the kitchen where Mr. Hicks works, and how do you know? You might have to make an inference here based on what you know about kitchens in restaurants. How do your answers to the first question make you question Mr. Hicks's ability to have seen, through a window no less, the crime? How do your answers to the first question make you question Mr. Hicks's ability to have seen, through a window, the crime that was committed? And the final solution question is, what have John Ford and Bill Seeley ascertained to undermine Hicks's credibility? I suppose that should be a question mark. And here is your solution. John Ford and Bill Seeley were directly involved in this robbery case from at least 4 a.m., probably earlier, and were aware that before the sudden pre-dawn thaw, the winter air had been very cold and crisp. At the time the passengers and cash were supposedly transferred from the armored vehicle into the Jeep in the parking lot of the Good Eats Diner, Mr. Hicks was at his fryer inside the restaurant. From this vantage point, he could see into the parking lot quite easily, especially with the mercury vapor lighting system. However, with the outside ambient temperature below the freezing point and the inside temperature of the diner well above, the windows would have been entirely covered in frost and condensation, especially in a place like the Good Eats Diner. Mr. Hicks's claim to have seen into the parking lot from his vantage point at the fryer is certainly suspect. Now that you have seen the final solution, how would you change your answer to this question? What have John Ford and Bill Seeley ascertained to undermine Hicks's credibility? What didn't you have in your first answer that you might add now? And last but certainly not least, we have our learning scale. Where would you rate your ability to accomplish that learning goal? Would you put yourself at a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1? And finally, why did you rate yourself where you did? What what could you do and what don't you feel comfortable doing yet to put yourself at the rating above? Why did you rate yourself where you did? After answering this question, you have earned yourself 1 unit for today. Thank you and have a wonderful day.